things as he does. And most people in London certainly don't behave the same way. And an example of this is one day I was completely exhausted, and I decided, well, I've got to go over and have a cup of tea and watch some of the Tour de France at their house, because I can't watch the Tour at my house, and you know, they have cable TV, and I'll make use of, you know, going and just... Well, I went over, and as we went through the kitchen, I just saw a few bits of old fruit, and I think there's going to be a common theme today to do with food, possibly. I just saw a couple of old bits of fruit and some other odds and ends, and Nick saw something completely different. And I went down and sort of got my cup of tea. Most other couples would just pull a packet of biscuits out of a cupboard and give you a biscuit, or maybe even you get a piece of toast with butter on, and a bit of Marmite or Vegemite. Brought some in from Australia. And occasionally you might even get somebody who give you a slice of cake, but no, not Nick and Jen. I arrive and go and sit down with my cup of tea, and some of those bits of fruit that were sitting there were pears, and they pull them out and they core them out, and they start putting in bits of chocolate and a few raisins and a bit of cinnamon, and then Jen whips out some pastry from the freezer, and they wrap these pears and put the pears into the oven and cook, bake, and while I'm sitting there watching the Tour de France, suddenly this feast from virtually nothing appears of these wonderful baked pears, and I've tried to replicate it and cause complete sort of disaster. But it's an absolute feast, and I believe that Nick, since meeting Jen, everything is feast-like, and it's just a happy, wonderful sort of celebration. And the only thing I'm worried about, there's only one thing I'm worried about, and that's, I'm glad I haven't got that sort of infrared sensor now, because the levels will be getting bigger and bigger, and my worry would be increasing, is that I think love is connected to energy. I'm not quite sure what the relationship is. I'm not the physicist, so I haven't actually asked Nick, because this is something I'm quite worried about. I believe that Nick puts a lot of energy into everything he does. I mean, at school, the fitness club he did, saw lots of people shed lots of weight and get fit, and his J14 rugby team just got better and better and better. And I'm worried that the link between love and energy might mean that as Jen feeds back more energy into the system, and Nick feeds more energy into the system, that we're all in real trouble. Because if there is a link between love and energy, we may well end up with a huge sort of supernova. This thing gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then but what a way for the world to go. That's the way I see it. What a way for the world to go. So, with that, and the risk that all of us may be the beginning of the end of the world, I want to thank obviously the parents of both these people who may well cause the end of the world by creating a supernova that will wipe us all out, but maybe it will just make everyone in the world happy. And that's what I'm hoping may well happen, which is a lot on your shoulders. I also I'm going to be handing on to the bridesmaids, who look absolutely spectacularly wonderful. Thank you very, very much for helping out and for giving us so much effort, for looking so wonderful. And yes, another toast to the bride and groom, Mr. and Mrs. Sharp. And thank you very much for everything. And I hope it isn't the end of the world, because I want to see a lot more of the Sharps. So, to the Sharps.
Intelligent, beautiful, brilliant sportswoman, successful lawyer, great friend, from the greatest cricket and rugby nation in the world. This is about Jen. Jen, all those things I said are actually about you, but it's even off the mark there. Great cook, brilliant seamstress, the dress. Done the day of the wedding before. Connoisseur of fine things and really good at getting sales items at really cheap prices. But there is a darker side to Jen, and upon some investigative work with my fellow bridesmaid Rachel and Jane, her good friend, I learned about the volleyball tours. Something about pigtails and silly dresses on the volleyball court. And also alcohol performance enhancer on the volleyball court as well. But this darker side is met by an incredible composure and calmness, a distinct style, taking things in her stride. When I got married last year and Jen came up to South Africa, the other bridesmaid termed the week before the wedding as bridal boot camp, with gulag-type behaviour as I made them make olive tapenade for 140 people. When I told my other bridesmaid about the week preceding Jen's wedding, spas, Vietnamese nail and toe bars, eating, more eating, more eating. The bridesmaid of my wedding last year said, "Is that bridal boot camp or is it bridal rest camp?" So, Jen, the way you take things in your stride is epitomised by this week. Nothing too big a task, always on the phone, and always calm. And it was a real pleasure for Rachel and I to be by your side, to be your wing woman, if you like. This leads me to her incredibly generous nature with her time. With all her relationships, she's so giving, so loving, and she seems to have found her equal, Nick Sharp, who announced the other evening that we should all call him Le Chef. It was a while ago in London that his requested first date on the icing rink was something out of the novel Little Women. This gallant gentleman, a la Colin Firth, asking Jen on this date. I certainly was very sceptical. And I wondered whether there was ever a man who would be good enough for my Jen and for your Jen. Especially some dodgy Tassie boy.